All right, we are live.
All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Peaches and Dream podcast. So,
Oh,
what's
how
going
was
on? What's going
your
on?
week? How was your week?
My week was actually pretty good. What is today? Like Tuesday? Oh, it's Wednesday. Oh, we a day ahead of what I thought it was. That's good. That's good. It's been long. It's been a long one, but at least we halfway through. It's hump day again. I think last time we went live it was Wednesday, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
going on days of the week, so I have the same schedule next week too. Just so you know. Just so you know.
Ah, okay. That's cool. The middle of the week. Okay. All right. So, are you guys ready for tonight's topics? So, a couple of these is going to be follow-ups about stuff that we spoke about recently, but we have some updates. And then we also have a couple of new things, I believe. Oh, yeah. We got two old things with updates, and then we have two new things. So, let's just run through the list real quick. So, we're going to talk about the school in Michigan, Oxford. So, the Oxford school shooting, we have an update on that in regards to the 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, who actually shot up the school, and also his parents recently being arrested. So, we're going to touch base on that. Kyle Rittenhouse actually recently responded to LeBron James. Also, a PlayStation executive has been fired for inappropriate activity with a 15-year-old boy. So we're going to go into details about that. And then also, last but not least, we are going to touch base on Nick Cannon recently mourning and announcing the death of his 5-month-old baby.
Mm, that's anyway. We'll wait till the end for that. Or yeah, well, I guess we'll wait till the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that should definitely go at the end.
Okay. Oh, so Ethan Crumley. Let's get him out the way since I have him pulled up.
Oh my God. You know, it's so crazy because last week when the story first came out, and I was like, and then we watched the news article that we actually played on live, and then they were like, oh, just earlier that day, he was in the office with his parents. I'm like, why was he in the office? Something had to have happened. They said he wasn't bullied, he wasn't a problematic child. Something was going on that led up to that shooting. And you was like, well, I'm sure his parents wasn't there to say, oh, yeah, my son is going to go in the bathroom and come out with a gun and shoot up the school. But they technically that's what really happened. Only thing is that they ain't say it was gonna happen because I'm sure if they would have said it was gonna happen, they would have never sent his little ass back to class. But yes, let's pull up the facts. Let's pull up the what you got over there.
A video of their arraignment. His
Oh, okay.
his mom was crying in court the whole time. So
Nah, you wasn't crying when you said LOL. I'm not mad. After the fucking school told you the little boy was shooting up, shooting up. They told you that he was caught looking up gun ammunition in class. And you want to say laughing out loud, I'm not mad. You just got to learn how to not get caught. That's what she going to tell a little. Anyways,
a
let's
little
pull up
what?
this arena. I don't know. I'm trying not to disrespect people's children because I got children, but damn.
Oh, fuck that kid. Anyway, so let's.
Jennifer Crumbley,
You got to mute.
I'll ring you first. So if you'll please make sure you get close to that microphone so that we can hear you.
Can you
If
hear
at
me?
any time you cannot hear or see me, please put your hand up. We will stop the proceedings and then try to figure out what's going on. Do you understand that you are charged with the following counts? Count 1, involuntary manslaughter. Jennifer Crumbley, I'm going to arraign you first. So if you'll please make sure you get close to that microphone so that we can hear you. If at any time you cannot hear or see me, please put your hand up. We will stop the proceedings and then try to figure out what's going on. Do you understand that you are charged with the following counts? Count 1, involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and or to a $7,500 fine and mandatory DNA for the death of Madison Baldwin. Do you understand that that is a charge for count 1? Ms. Crumbley, you need to verbally
I
respond.
understand.
Do you understand that you are charged in count 2 for the death of Tate Meyer? Involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and or up to a $7,500 fine and mandatory DNA.
I understand.
Do you understand that you are charged in count 3 for the death of Hannah St. Juliana with involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and or up to a $7,500 fine, along with mandatory DNA testing?
I understand.
Do you understand that you're charged in count 4 for the death of Justin Schilling with involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and or up to $7,500 fine, along with mandatory DNA testing?
I understand.
Do you understand that you do have the right to plead guilty or not guilty to all those counts?
I understand.
And do you understand that you do have a right to a trial, either by jury or by judge? And at that trial, you would have the opportunity to call witnesses on your behalf, confront witnesses that have been called against you, and or to remain silent, and that you'd be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand all those trial rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you on probation or parole for any other offense? Ma'am, I'll ask the question again. Are you on probation or parole
No.
for any offense?
No,
And how are you pleading to count 1?
not guilty.
How are you pleading to count 2?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count 3?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count 4?
Not guilty.
And do you understand, sir, that you are charged in count 1 for the death of Madison Baldwin of involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and or up to a $7,500 fine and mandatory DNA testing?
I understand.
Do you understand in count 2, you are charged with the death of Tate Meyer for the involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and or up to a $7,500 fine and mandatory DNA testing?
I understand.
Do you understand that you are charged in count 3 for the death of Hannah St. Juliana with the involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and up to a $7,500 fine and mandatory DNA testing?
I understand.
And do you understand that you are charged in count 4 for the death of Justin Schilling, involuntary manslaughter, which is punishable by up to 15 years in prison and up to a $7,500 fine and mandatory DNA testing?
I understand.
Do you understand that you do have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to all of those charges?
I understand.
Do you understand you have a right to a trial either by jury or by judge? And at that trial, you would have the opportunity to call witnesses on your behalf, confront witnesses that have been called against you, and or to remain silent, and that you be presumed not guilty until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for each and every element of the crime. Do you understand those trial rights?
I understand.
Are you on probation or parole for any other offense?
No,
How are you pleading to count 1?
not guilty.
How are you pleading to count 2?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count 3?
Not guilty.
And how are you pleading to count 4?
Not guilty.
What stood out to you most, and what, might I ask, one of the things I think is important to point out, these attorneys for the parents are adamant that the gun was locked up. They wanted to make that statement. They did so, which is contrary to some of the other reports that we were getting over the last 24 hours. So what stood out to you, Commissioner Ramsey?
Well, I mean, the defense attorneys are doing their job. Whether the gun was locked up.
Interesting. Oh, you have to unmute. Oh.
Not guilty.
Oh boy. My thing is that at the end of the day, they are gonna be guilty. You know, this situation is so crazy because it kind of ties into the Kyle Rittenhouse situation. Only thing is that it's not, you know, it's similar, but it's not similar. Because here's the thing. With Kyle Rittenhouse, from what I understand, he had his mother's gun, right? He didn't even have a license to have a gun. And they didn't charge him with shit. He should have at least been charged with having a gun when he wasn't supposed to have a gun in the first place, even if they didn't charge him for the actual deaths of who he killed. You understand? So now with this situation, with them saying not guilty, where did that Kyle Rittenhouse situation take place? I need to see
You said where or when?
where. Illinois? Where was it? I'm looking it up right now. Because sometimes if it's a situation where it happened in the same state, they could try to use another case to prove why they're not guilty. Oh, they was in Wisconsin, but Wisconsin is not far from Michigan, from what I understand, but it's still different states. But
Mhm.
listen, the fact is this: they may not have pulled the actual trigger, but for one, there's the freaking gun owner and the store that testified
Yeah.
that when the father bought that gun, Ethan was with them. That's the first thing. The second thing that had happened was he had posted, Ethan posted on his Facebook, oh, my new little toy or something like that. Something about ask, you got any questions, ask, right? So that was that. Mind you, on top of that, the school was getting all types of threats. On top of that, the mother posted, "Oh, my son's new Christmas. Oh, taking my son to the shooting ring or something to play with his early Christmas gift." If y'all would have just waited to fucking Christmas to give this boy his quote unquote early Christmas gift, then motherfuckers would have been able to spend Christmas with their children that are now fucking dead as a result of them.
But do you think they still would have been?
Do I think they still would have been what?
Do you think there still would have been a shooting, or because the teachers caught it in time, there still would have been?
I think if it was a Christmas gift for one, if they really wanted to give him the gun, they should have waited until then. Secondly, oh yeah, I just talked about a couple of things. Aside from that, for one, I just feel like he should have never got a gun as a Christmas gift, period. He's a 15-year-old boy. He didn't need a gun. But the crazier part is, why did they feel the need to even buy him a gun? That's why the parents are automatically guilty, because you bought this child a gun. The father took him to the store. The mother is claiming, the mother is not claiming. The mother actually posted that they bought the son a gift on a gun for an early Christmas gift on Facebook. So it's not like they didn't know he had the gun. It's not like it was their gun and he got a hold of it. They bought the gun for him.
But you know what? This ought to teach parents in the future. If you're going to allow your children to shoot guns and go hunting and, just use firearms, period, you have to lock them up. You just, not for the, well, also for the purpose of, your child might shoot up a school, but they're still underage and they still are in
Very immature, and they still
immature.
are crazy, you know. But listen, not even that. The school also failed the school also failed the students and their parents big time, because the first thing that had happened was the little boy was caught looking up gun ammunition by a teacher. They did the right thing by reaching out to the parents. They did the right thing by trying to reach out to the parents several times. What had happened the morning of the shooting, the reason why the parents, they like, nah, your parents gotta come up here, was because this little motherfucker was in class. He made a drawing with a gun and a whole bunch of blood and whatever. So because of that, they sent him to the office. Supposedly, by the time he got to the office, he had scribbled out some of his drawing, which is still besides the fact. But the irony is that same day, a couple of hours later, like, they never even checked his book bag. I would have, like, by that point, I would have checked his book bag at least, because you know why? He's looking up gun ammunition. He's drawing pictures of guns. They should have checked that little boy's book bag. And I think that would have prevented all of this altogether. So the school has some fault too. But then again, if he was a good kid, it's like, what reason would you have seen to send him home? You wouldn't really, like, that's why sometimes you try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but you never really know. Because they tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because, okay, he's quote unquote a good kid. He don't bother nobody. But look.
Yeah.
You know, I
What?
really feel, huh?
No, I just have a just a statement. There is a coincidence, or maybe it's not a coincidence. I don't know. So there's a show. I probably should have told you to start watching, but I don't know. It's a show called Dexter. It came on Showtime. So the show was, canceled. The show ended. They wrote the show to end, but there's a new season, like, the revival season, just bringing, old characters back and shit like that. So one of the new characters, Dexter has moved. So one of the new characters that goes to school with his son, Harrison,
Hmm.
was planning a school shooting, and
Wow.
he had a kill list and everything, and the little boy's name was Ethan. So the same week, what was it, last week or the week before, that same week when the Oxford school shooting happened is the same week the school shooting episode aired. So I just thought that was a coincidence. I was like, wow, both kids are named Ethan on the show and in real life.
Wow. But what if the boy Ethan got the idea from that? Because they're saying, like I said, they say he wasn't problematic. So they say.
Yeah, but if you look at his pictures, hold on.
He looks a little off, but he also looks like a combination of his mom and dad. I was looking at all three of their asses.
They got some images of him when he was, oh girl, wait till you see this shit. He just looks scary. Like, oh, you know how you look at other people's kids and you're like, oh, that's a school
You
shooter in the making. Yeah, girl, look at him.
know, it's crazy because I try not to look at people's kids in a bad light, but Lord God, look at him with his little praying hands. That's crazy. That's him,
Oh,
right? Supposedly when he was younger.
so he's charged as an adult terrorist.
Yep.
So he posted this picture. Just got my new video today, 9 millimeter.
Hold
Ask
up, let
any
me
questions,
see.
I will
Yo, I
answer.
never seen these pictures. I heard about them, but I ain't seen. That's crazy. See, this is exactly what he said. But I wanted to know what the comments would have said. It says, just got my new beauty today. Ask any questions, I will answer. He was saying ask any questions because they knew they was planning to do something to that school. Same with how that black boy was saying, oh yeah, he didn't want to go. There
There
had to
was
be
some talk.
conversations.
There was some talk, of course. I don't know why they're trying to skate around that shit. There was some fucking talk. It's not like Columbine where you knew two kids were just weird and they just showed up one day out of the blue. There was some talk because school shootings are all too fucking common. It's like these kids are so fucking bored. They want to do something, and their mind immediately goes to shooting up a school.
Shooting up the schools be on the top of their list. Like what the fuck? I don't understand it. I'm like, yo, I ain't never been that mad a day in my life. Like never.
Exactly, exactly. But just like Lovely T was saying, there's like a spirit, just all the crime happening in the US and just in the world, period. It's just, I know it's the holidays and people, go crazy and do stupid shit because the holidays are, really hard for people, but what's going on in the world that people just don't give a fuck? You know what I mean?
Listen. I don't even know. But you know what's crazy? Because I always think about the Bible. Like, if you actually ever really sat down and read the Bible, you see how much crazy shit happened in the Bible from Abel and Cain to what else I could think of. Like, it was a lot of betrayal and backstabbing and
Yes,
evilness
yes.
and, in the
Man,
Bible,
man has been doing evil shit since the beginning of time. That's all it tells you. That's all it
basically.
tells you.
And that's why I really don't be surprised. I'm like, yo, Abel killed fucking Cain. And it's so, it's so crazy because I watched True Story with Kevin Hart, and the last episode was called like Cain did Abel or some shit like that. That's crazy, right?
Yes. Okay. So let's lead into that. What did you think about True Story?
Yo, honestly, I mean, it was good, but it's so crazy because I'm like, yo, I hope, like, cause with it being called True Story, I was thinking it was really, when I first started watching it, I thought it was gonna be some real shit about like something that really happened to Kevin Hart within his lifetime. But then I realized like it's just a whole bunch of fucking betrayal and backstabbing, like in
Mm.
the Bible. I'm like, nah, that whole situation was crazy. But it's so crazy because in the very beginning, when the girl was dead, I'm like, yo, he didn't actually kill her. His fingerprints are not on that overdose bottle. He should have just called the cops,
He
you
should have
know?
called the fucking cops. But do you see how it's like? Because I think of Kevin Hart was obviously part of the writing. Do you see how it's not exactly like his life, but you can see something like this happening with Kevin Hart? Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in a hotel, just like the case with his friend extorting him. He was in a hotel
Mm-hmm.
with some bitches. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
this
That's what he
his
was cheating on
friend
his
is
wife, and
supposed to like
they released a sex tape or whatever. They was extorting him saying they would release a sex tape. You know
but
what I didn't like about Kevin Hart was that Kevin Hart tried to sue them over whatever it was. But I'm like, yo, you can't sue nobody for something that you really
you
did.
did. Yeah, if you did it, then you did it. And the evidence came to like he wasn't really extorting him or anything like that. Like he had nothing to do with it. So my thing is this guy's livelihood has been fucked up. He was fired from a movie. He ended up having to drive for Postmates. His wife had to take a latter part of the bills. Like what the fuck? I know you're not responsible for this man's, like income or anything like that, but you're
Wait, that
huh?
happened to Kevin Hart as a result of him having a sex
No,
tape?
that happened to JT. What was his last name? His friend JT, his ex friend now.
Oh, the one who tried to. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, yes. So I'm like, I know you're not responsible for his income or anything like that, but your celebrity and your notoriety, and you saying you. I feel like Kevin Hart was trying to jump the gun by putting that video out saying, "Oh, I'm being extorted for something I did," blah 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 blah, and it's all on them. It's not me, even though I did mess up, and it just
Nah, I think he should have took ownership for that straight up. Because I remember, I think we talked
that's
about
why I
that
thought that
before.
video was some bullshit. That's why I thought that video was some bullshit. Okay,
I
so
think that he should have took ownership because it's not like I can understand if he didn't cheat and somebody was trying to accuse him of something and they put together something fake, but if you really did that shit, take ownership for what you did. I mean, I think it's wrong for your friend to be trying to get money from you. So much, oh, if you don't do this, then I'm gonna tell your woman that you cheated, or I'm gonna tell everybody that you cheated. I think that's wrong. But at the same time, you can't be mad at nobody but your damn self because you know why? You gave them the ammunition to fucking have bullets to shoot at your ass. Because if you would have never done that,
because here's the thing, if he hadn't gotten caught, then there would be no video, there would be no extortion or anything.
not even if he would not have gotten caught, if
If
he
you
did not do
had,
that shit,
yeah,
period.
exactly. But he got caught. That's why he tried to jump the gun with that video.
Because my thing is that you can't be mad. Like my thing is that I'm never gonna get mad if something comes out and I actually did it. It's a whole different ball game when somebody is trying to accuse you of something and set you up and say you did something that you really did not do. Now that will piss me off. But if I did something and shit just happens to get out there, like I'm gonna just walk away with my tail between my legs because I know I did that shit.
And
It's when you try to blame other people for your fuck ups that bothers me. But yeah, anyways, it was good that we actually watched that. But yeah, when you think about it, it's a whole bunch of betrayal.
one more thing about True Story. The one thing that I felt about the series is that it was really predictable, but that's because I felt like it felt like it was copycatting um, a movie that came out in 1998 called Very Bad Things. So
I've never seen. You know, I'm not a movie person,
I saw
but
this movie one good time, and as soon as I started watching the damn series, I was like, okay, this is a little bit too fucking similar. So
mm,
these guys, it was the night before, it was either a couple of days or the night before their wedding or whatever, one of their wedding, and a prostitute dies at the bachelor party. So the guys at the bachelor party, they start to turn on each other while covering up the murder at the same time. So that's where I felt like, they kind of got the excuse you. I
now
don't
was she murdered or was she did she just die?
I think it was like I don't think it was an OD, just the same. I think she hit her head. That's what happened.
And
That's what
instead of calling the cops, they tried to cover
happened.
up the murder.
Exactly. They tried to cover up the murder. So if anybody, wants to watch very bad things and do some comparisons, but that's why it was predictable to me. Other people were saying it was predictable because they knew that Wesley Snipes' character was on some bullshit, and he obviously was. So
Mm. You know, it's sad because I'm like, when you said Wesley Snipes, I definitely heard of Wesley Snipes, but Wesley Snipes was basically the bigger brother, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's crazy. Like, I didn't even realize that was Wesley Snipes. I just knew he looked mad familiar.
girl.
I'm so not a movie person. But dang. But I'm like, yo, it's so crazy because it was like, yo, if they would have just called the cops and he would have never killed the Ari guy, the next thing you know, the Ari guy would have never been killed and fucking Gene would have never been fucking killed and then none of them would have never been killed. That shit was just like an ongoing, it's like, man. You know what was so stupid though? For him to use Gene and say, oh, Gene did it. Because mind you, as soon as they saw the pictures of freaking, what is it? What was his name, kid?
Who?
Kevin Hart character.
Oh, they put it off on that guy, Gene.
Yeah, I'm like, why would he think that was smart? I thought that was the stupidest thing he could have done.
But
Like, I
here's
thought,
my thing. Here's my thing. Why the fuck was he following him anyway?
yo,
Being a
this,
fucking weirdo. If he hadn't have followed them that night and showed that video that he followed them, there wouldn't have been any type of excuse to, any type of way, just to for them to pawn it off on him, or at least Carlton's character to pawn it off on him. Like he knows what happened, he knows what we did. Here's a way to take him out without him having to do it.
man,
So
and
they
follow him, that
the
was
innocent
creepy.
stalker guy, the innocent stalker got caught up for no fucking reason.
Yeah. And it's just sad because he really tried to set him up. He bought that shit on himself. I think that he knew that they was gonna basically find out that they had something to do with it. It was no way, especially when Kevin Hart was going live with this guy. And mind you, he watched the lives. You remember how they went out and he, the brother, Wesley Snipes, and his character, Carlton, that's his name.
Yeah.
He watched the lives with Kevin Hart out with the guy, and it was all over social media. So for him to say that was the guy, he probably was trying to set his brother up to get killed. He probably was trying to set Kevin Hart up to get killed, if you think about it.
Well, if he gets
So,
killed, then he can't get paid. And it's not like his brother is the beneficiary because from what we saw, he gave his brother more than enough money for his shitty startup businesses.
but remember, he already got the 600,000. He paid the people off already. You forgot?
Yeah, but he was trying to get more money probably.
If he was trying to get more money, he should have never used somebody that was in close proximity with his brother. And that part makes no sense to me.
But yeah, you want to get to the Kyle Rittenhouse shit?
Yeah, so basically, do you have a video for that?
Of course. You know how I do. There's
Hold
actually
on.
a couple videos, but I think this one might be it right here. No, that's not it.
Hold on, let me look for this thing real quick. What is it? It's this girl. Hold on, let me try to see if I can find something real quick that I can play for you so you can hear who you sound like.
Hear
laying in
what?
the bed with a man is not the same.
Who you sound like?
Like, listen. And no okay, gotta love you.
Hold on.
Damn, I'm sure you guys.
Let me turn this down. It's this girl named on Instagram. Her name is Who is Shonda.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. Okay, why can't I should be able to find a video. But she's like this. Her name is Who is Shonda, and she has this white boyfriend or whatever. And then he be like, "Of course."
Embrace it. Embrace it.
But that's basically his.
You said I
Man.
said her?
No, you sound like him. He be like, cause he got a baby. They be doing skits, and she be like, "So you're not just trying to go over there to see?" He be like, "So she be like, so you really love me?" He be like, "Of course." Anyways, I'll find it and send it to you one of these days.
Alrighty.
Yeah, go ahead and play the Kyle Rittenhouse thing.
What's up, Sports Wars? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we are going to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse and LeBron James. Now, as we have well documented on this channel, LeBron James is a piece of shit, a literal piece of shit, a very dumb and ignorant person who talks about things that he doesn't understand, who plays the fake victim, who creates fake hate crimes, and then the media gives it a signal boost until, of course, then the questions that people have can't be answered because LeBron and his boys invented the whole thing. He wants to.
They hate LeBron, clearly. God, what happened to the audio?
And
That's
then I'm
crazy.
like, you know what? Fuck you, LeBron. I like a girl with a little bit of butt. Big boobs, big boobs.
Well, the inevitable media tour from Kyle Rittenhouse is officially here. After joining Instagram and Twitter on social media, he is now making the podcast rounds, appearing on the You Are Here podcast, as well as several others where he talked about a host of issues. Now, when actually asked about the shootings and the trial, Rittenhouse sounded like a mature adult. He said that it's nothing to be congratulated about after a couple of buffoon hosts said that they were, quote, impressed with his shooting. He said there's nothing to be congratulated about, and if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have gone there. Other than that, every other podcast clip appears to be about Kyle Rittenhouse having sex and what his sexual preferences are in the bedroom. That's right, Kyle Rittenhouse is getting his fuck on. There was a quick moment where they talked about LeBron when LeBron James famously tweeted about him during his trial. On the podcast, Rittenhouse said, "Fuck you, LeBron." Other than that, every other clip you'll see is about Rittenhouse losing his virginity to thick girls with fat asses and big tits. Whether it was the You Are Here podcast, where he had this one-liner zinger about losing his virginity.
Like waiting for all the single patriotic moms to take Kyle's virginity. I'm like, too late.
Woo! Or whether it was this appearance where he said that he likes big boobs.
What are you looking for in a woman?
Yes. Yes.
Or whether it was this one where he says that he likes him thick.
Curvy or thin?
I like thick.
Oh,
okay.
We now know way too much about the sex life of Kyle Rittenhouse. I mean, one more podcast appearance and this kid was going to be saying that he likes boobs because they feel like bags of sand. And sure, this might be the cringiest thing you've ever seen in your life. Yes, he comes across as the biggest dork in America. But at the end of the day, he is just an 18-year-old kid. He probably is excited that he just lost his virginity. He's probably trying to get into Poop Girl's diaper as we speak. He's just a kid who's happy to be having sex. But it's the podcast hosts, the adults in the room, who are creeping me the fuck out. Everybody yucking it up and high-fiving this teenager over him losing his virginity and asking him about his preferences and the boobs and the butts that he likes. I mean, what are we doing here? What kind of media members make their careers off of tits and ass and making fun of LeBron James? Swear to God, this industry's going down the tubes.
What the fuck? Girl, first of all, he was responding
Hey,
to...
what's up? It's your girl Nick, and you're tuned in to
Oh, shit.
Nick.
My bad, sorry.
I thought, yeah, I thought it was more than that. He just said F you. Well, that's all that I'm hearing.
Because he was responding to LeBron James. You know that tweet LeBron James put out?
Yeah.
I probably should put that up.
Yeah, but I know the tweet that you're talking about where he basically was like mocking him because he was crying or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But how old is he? They said how old did they say he was?
I think he's like what? He's 18 years old. He's literally 18 years old right now. He'll be 19 in
Okay.
January. He'll be 19 in January. So his birthday is coming up.
It's so crazy because they really sitting here talking about him and his sex life and all of that. Like that's really, really weird to me. But some people get a fetish off of murderers and weird shit like that. Like what?
But you know what? This is giving me real George Zimmerman, how George Zimmerman has a fan base after what he did to Trayvon Martin.
Yep.
Because when they go to talk about, his sex life and everything, he's still a kid. So who would fuck him?
That's the thing. For them to be asking him about his sex life is really, really weird to me.
So here's the picture. LeBron James says, "What tears? I didn't see one because there weren't any." What the fuck? He looks like he's trying to take a shit.
Right.
Ugh. Just stop. Just stop the madness. Are you even seeing what I'm seeing? Oh yeah, you are. You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, I can see it.
But anyway, he said, "Fuck LeBron James." I don't think LeBron James, responded. I don't think he should because that's just going to give Kyle Rittenhouse even more attention. So fuck Kyle Rittenhouse.
But what about that first person that was talking? He started to play the video, and that person was going off talking about some LeBron James is an asshole, and
It's a lot of people who don't like LeBron James because he's left Cleveland. A lot of people are still mad about that.
that's crazy.
But LeBron James, I'm not going to say this is why he left Cleveland, but this is why I feel like he left the Cleveland Cavaliers. You remember I think we covered Devontae Wilder, the basketball player who has mental issues.
I think we talked about it. Basically, they made him sit out. Well, I don't think we talked about it, but I think that's the guy who they made sit out, and they said he couldn't play again until he went to one of their doctors to get assistance with his mental health, right?
I think that was him, but let me make sure.
Because I remember it was, and it's crazy because we talk about how black men in general they don't want to see counselors, and but like somebody was about to, and that guy basically to me is giving up his whole or putting his whole basketball career on hold because he don't want to get mental health because a lot of people think that if they go to therapy or counseling that something is wrong with them. So that guy that I'm talking about, they had him sitting out of games, and they're like, no, you can't go back until you see one of our, mental health doctors or psychologists or whatever. Psychologist.
Oh, Delonte West. Okay. So this shit right here, they felt like this was kind of why he left. I feel like he left the Cleveland Cavaliers, and people are like pissed off. So Delonte West, who has
Oh no, this is old. This is 2011.
exactly, but people are still mad about this shit. So Delonte West
Had an affair with LeBron's mom?
Yes.
So what was LeBron's mom married?
No. Where? No, she wasn't married. She wasn't married. Where are the pictures? Oh my god!
So how was it an affair? Was he married?
I don't know why they call it an affair, but yeah. So this shit right here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So when you ask why people, hate LeBron so much, he just up and left the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then he went to. This is how much I know about basketball, but the scandal, oh my God, he went to another team and now he's with the Lakers. But I love LeBron. I like LeBron way than I do Dwayne Wade. Man, fuck LeBron. But I love LeBron. I don't see like what the problem is. And then he's playing for one of the greatest teams in the nation. But after Delonte West fuck dude's mom, I don't know, because I'm really iffy about these celebrities and the type of shit they be doing. I'm starting to feel like LeBron James might have put some bad juju on him or went to a witch doctor or some shit like this, because Delonte West, his mental issues just spiraled out of control. He was diagnosed with like bipolar and schizophrenia or some shit like that. He ended up homeless. A lot of people were pushing off on him. I know you're seeing the a lot of people were mooching off of him, but it's just sad the decline that happened with him. Here's a video.
Good job, man. What Delonte West? Go Mavericks.
Yeah, he was playing for the Dallas Mavericks and then he got cut. He went to rehab because I think he was on drugs also, but shit, fuck it. And a millionaire, or I think he might be a billionaire, named Mark Cuban, he was trying to help him, get him the help that he needed, and he was paying for everything. But he was recently arrested, I think like this year, after he relapsed with his with his therapy and everything. It was crazy because he got a job at a therapy center, and it's just really sad. But no. But LeBron, he was like even the bigger person, and he even tried to help dude after he fucked his mom and everything. So, but I hope he gets some help or whatever. And it's just really unfortunate. How the hell did we get on this shit? Anyway, LeBron James left Cleveland. Yeah, a lot of people are still pissed at him about that. So when you say why are they talking so much shit about him on the videos and on YouTube, I still don't get it. Like, y'all mad because he left the team? So fuck it.
But was the guy on the team with him? That's what I need clarity on.
Yes.
Oh, so that's why I get it. That's crazy.
What was I about to say? Did you see? Did I send you that? Did I send you that clip of that girl calling out LeBron James?
No.
Oh my God! One more thing, because this shit is funny. This shit is fucking hilarious. Like, why did Becky do this? Oh my gosh.
Hey, watch your mouth, woman. Watch your mouth, woman.
Let's watch that again.
Hey, watch your mouth, woman. Watch your mouth, woman.
What the fuck? Why did Becky do this? Why did wait.
Hey, watch your mouth, woman. Watch your mouth.
But what did he? Was LeBron the one who got into the fight recently, or was that?
What the fuck, bitch? I died when I saw that shit, and it was so long ago.
That was an old video.
Yes, but somebody else brought it up that I watched on YouTube, and I was like, when did this happen?
What was that about, though?
People still fucking hate LeBron. People still hate LeBron. I don't know why.
Who was it that recently got into the fight? Like, it
Oh,
was like,
did we talk about that? Did we talk
was that
about
LeBron or was that the other one?
No. Oh, damn. What was the name?
Wayne Wade?
No,
Not
it
Dwayne
was
Wade.
wait. No, it was LeBron. Wait, it was LeBron.
It was somebody from the Lakers.
Hold on.
Who's big on the Lakers? It was LeBron, I think. Yeah, because they was like King James. Yeah.
LeBron James and Isaiah Stewart. Oh, yeah, let's watch that real quick because we did not cover that shit. Oh my God. I hate when niggas fight on the court. It just makes us look so bad.
I want to see the whole thing because I seen snippets and my husband kept saying like, "Oh yeah, the guy didn't start hyping up himself until everybody else was like, you know." But I'm like, I think he found out he was bleeding, and that's when he got mad.
And we saw Zach LaVine line up
Look.
and then Jason Tatum. Tonight it's.
Let me rewind it. Do the full screen.
I want to see when he elbowed the guy.
Oh, Stewart and LeBron. And we saw Zach LaVine line up and
Bam, right there.
Wait, you can't slow it down.
Oh yeah, let me slow it down. Cause it happened so quick. I had to keep rewinding that shit too.
I'm trying to zoom in. My husband was like, "Oh, the other guy didn't try to defend himself until everybody came around." I'm like, "No, he realized he was bleeding."
Okay, it slowed down. Look.
Stars.
Okay, yeah, we don't need to hear all that. Is this the original clip? Oh, my shit still slowed down. This is what people were comparing it to, but it was no comparison. No comparison. So there's Ron Artest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me. I gotta know what I'm supposed to be watching.
Okay. Just let me slow it down a little bit just so you won't miss anything.
Yeah, because stuff be going so fast.
That happened first. That happened first. Yes. Let me go back again. He goes up. Ron Artest accidentally hits him, but he pushes him. Look. Now, I have to point out during this time, and I'll send you the link to the Netflix documentary, Ron Artest was in therapy for his emotional issues. So Ron Artest was not the motherfucker to test, no pun intended. It was him and Ben Wallace. That was the other player.
But if you rewind it, let me see, rewind it and slow it down a little bit.
A little bit more.
Because it wasn't like it was a situation where he intentionally hit him. He was trying to shoot the ball and he pushed him, and I guess he was mad because he didn't get the hoop. Play it. Let me see.
I don't know. It did kind of look like Ron Artest pushed him. Okay, Ben Wallace.
Which one is Ron Artest? The one with the dark colors or the white?
Right there. You see how he pushed him in the back of the head and he turned around?
Yeah.
Pushed him. And they knew that shit was set the fuck off. Ben Wallace. Yep, there he is. Look at that shit. That started the whole fucking. Okay, let me pause because do you see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
This nigga right here, Steven Jackson, he just got married a couple of days ago. Steven Jackson, he was with the shits, girl. He was like, no, you're not to fight my motherfucking teammate. I'm down for whatever. So let's keep an eye on him also. Look at this ghetto shit. There he is, Steven Jackson right here. Trying to keep everybody apart. Now, why is Steven Jackson trying to fight this dude right here? And they all on the what the the fuck is this? What
He
the
look like
fuck
he's.
is
It
this?
looks like he's stretching.
Girl, he said in the documentary that his therapist told him, if he feels any type of anxiety or anything, just sit down or lay down and take a couple of minutes. This nigga laid on the fucking tape. Mind you, this isn't even their home court. They're in the
Mm-mm.
they're not even in Detroit. I think it was the Raptors or whatever. Oh, the Pistons, the Indiana Pacers.
Mm.
So there, Ron Artest plays for the Pacers. They were in Detroit doing this shit. They were in Detroit
Mm.
doing this shit. So a lot of the fans were angry in the stadium everywhere. They were angry because he laid on their table and they saw that as disrespectful. Girl, look at this ghetto shit.
Yeah. So he's doing that. Everybody, mind you, he's the one who pushed.
Steven Jackson, though. Look at Steven Jackson. He with the shit. He with all the shit. He want all the smoke. Look at this nigga right here. He just there. But look at Ben Wallace still trying
But
to
that's the one who pushed the guy in the first place, right?
Ron Artest pushed him. But I think it was by accident, but it didn't look like it was an accident. But I think Dude overreacted. And look at Steven Jackson.
Mm-mm. It's crazy because you got all these big black strong men with these. It's crazy. My husband said the same thing. He was like, the security be smaller than the basketball players.
And they mentioned that in the documentary also. There was no police, only 2 security guards in that whole fucking stadium.
And mind you, the security guards are not nowhere near as physically fit as these damn basketball players.
Girl, that, and when you say, oh, these big black men, when after this shit happened, the commentary on the sports channels and Sports Center and all this shit, they were trying to villainize the basketball players, calling them thugs and shit.
No, they just black men, but they supersize. Because most basketball players are tall for one, like 6+ feet. And people who's tall like that, they naturally possess the strength that somebody that's like my husband could pick me up and he don't work out and he's 6'4". You understand?
Ooh.
So people, tall guys, they naturally have a strength that that the average height guy don't have. Like my husband carried me from one room to the next. I was like, nigga.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yes, it was like, it's so crazy. He would do all of that on our honeymoon. Shit.
Okay, let's get back to the fight. Girl, mind you, it got worse from here. It got worse. Everybody's just arguing. Like, let it go. There's no sportsmanship. Just let it go.
Man. But the crazy part about it was that, I don't even know how, I understand the 2 of them having a problem, but for everybody else to all of a sudden have a problem with everybody else.
Look at Ron Artest putting on these motherfuckers' headphones and shit. The fuck? He was really having a mental breakdown in the middle of that. Why is he doing that? In the middle of that shit. Like, you don't know what people
What was he supposed to do? He's just trying to avoid conflict because that's the one who was laying on the table, right?
Exactly. But look at this shit. This is where the second part of the fight started.
He said the second part.
You didn't catch that?
Hold on. Now I didn't know it was more than one part of a fight.
That's where the bullshit really started.
What the hell?
Ben's going to get a substantial fine and suspension if he doesn't really do that.
So what happened was the fans started throwing shit at Ron Artest. They started throwing shit at all the Indiana Pacers. This nigga crossed his legs and every fucking thing. See if I can speed this up a little bit.
Eugene is still over on the Indiana side of the timeline.
Why weren't they escorting them off the? Oh shit! Look at this shit! Look at this shit!
He went up on the stage to fight a
fan. Yes, and it was the wrong person. It was the now Steven Jackson.
That's crazy.
Girl, when I tell you this shit was legendary. Now that guy in that blue shirt right there,
yeah,
that's the guy that threw this shit originally to Ron Artest. So Ron Artest hit the wrong guy. Look at this shit.
What year was this?
This is in 2003, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they had lawsuits on top of lawsuits on top of lawsuits.
Oh no, this was in 2004.
Again, I'm sure they had lawsuits on top of lawsuits.
Girl, let's move on to the next thing. We spent too much time on this, but yeah. So that's why they were that's what they were comparing the LeBron James and Isaiah Stewart fight to. And I'm like, it's not even fucking close to that. So don't even do that. Don't even do that. People fight in the NBA all the fucking time. Like,
That's crazy.
But anyway, what else are we going to talk about?
That PlayStation pervert.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yep. Oh, you got the stuff that I sent you, and because I think that was a good little slide explaining what happened.
Girl, this sounded like some To Catch a Predator type shit.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me share my screen. I didn't know you had sent me anything. Let me.
Yeah, go to Instagram on your messengers. Well, probably pull it up before you share.
Okay, I'm on. Hold on. You sent it to my Instagram?
Yeah, go to your Instagram messages and look at the post that I had sent. And there was a few slides. I want you to try to bring that up.
Okay, it was from the New York Post, so I'm on the right thing. It's the same thing that you sent me.
Okay.
You got here to meet tonight, Jeff. Jeff, we can have a conversation. I can call the cops, Jeff.
I'll mute it.
I can call the.
Mute me?
Well, mute yourself, yeah, because I hear the echo.
Who you got here to meet tonight, Jeff? Jeff, we can have a conversation. I can call the cops, Jeff. Jeff, I can call the cops, or we can have a conversation.
No.
You want it, Jeff? You want to have a conversation, Jeff? I got your face on video, scumbag. You want me to call the cops? All right, I'll call the cops. You invited over a 15-year-old kid tonight to have sex.
Okay, pause that and read that. Let me zoom in. It says a top Sony executive has been fired after he was allegedly caught in an amateur pedophilia sting operation posted on YouTube. I hate the fact that they said PlayStation the other day and now they're saying Sony. But I'm guessing Sony
all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm guessing Sony owns PlayStation, but still they should have. Anyways, yeah, you can play it. Just wanted to read what it said.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pause it. The shocking video, which has more than 112,000 views, shows PlayStation Senior VP George Casalpo, whatever his name is, being confronted by people versus Preds. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted.
No.
He's Italian, so it's George Cacioppo. But anyway.
Who accused him of trying to meet up with a 15-year-old boy for sex before he closes the door in their face. Interesting. Where was the messages? I wonder, did that slide have messages? Sony said in a statement, "We are aware of the situation and the employee in question has been terminated from employment." Wow. Okay. Cacioppo has been criminally charged. Wow. That's crazy. And he's like, he didn't have a wife? I'm here asking if he had a wife like it matters. Like, I wonder if he was, if he was homosexual, or that's what I want to know. Look up his profile, see if he have a spouse.
Hey,
and
so
children.
remember that PlayStation executive that was caught in a vigilante sting operation trying to meet up with a 15-year-old? He's been fired from Sony. Good. Now, hopefully there's legal repercussions too. Let's get into it. Skip it up and that up. So again, shout out to Tipster. I was actually talking to him about this. I'll get more into that later over on YouTube. I'll have a link to his YouTube channel. He's going to be showing up eventually to one of my live streams. It should be a lot of fun. He actually gave me the heads up on this story, where the senior vice president of engineering for the PlayStation network over at Sony, George Cacioppo, I believe I'm saying his last name right, was caught by
ain't the only one.
YouTube vigilante group called People versus Preds trying to meet up with a 15-year-old. I showed the video last time. I'm not going to show it again. And due to that, Sony has fired him. Keep in mind, there was receipts to back up the fact that he was trying to meet up with a 15-year-old. They were pretty interesting receipts too. Viewer discretion advised. Anyway, this comes from cnet.com. I'll read it to you, then we'll discuss. And then I'm going to give an interesting take on the whole vigilante predator YouTube scene. So George Cacioppo, a Sony senior vice president who worked on PSN, like I said, was allegedly, we have to use that word, trying to arrange a meeting with a person claiming to be a 15-year-old boy, according to a video posted December 3rd by the YouTube channel People vs. Preds. Cacioppo had been a senior vice president of engineering at Sony for the past 8 years. He started in 2013. According to his LinkedIn profile, he has been fired after allegedly appearing in the video. Sony put out a statement. "We are aware of the situation and the employee in question has been terminated from employment." So apparently George met this 15-year-old on Grindr. They exchanged messages. He sent pictures. Use your imagination. And he told the decoy on Grindr that his name was Jeff, not George. He was trying to be slick, even though the irony is that when People vs. Preds went to his door, he was wearing a PS5 t-shirt. Oh man, I don't think there was any mistake in identifying him, huh? Now, People vs. Preds said the information they gathered was sent to the San Diego County District Attorney's Office. And of course, that office has not replied for comment yet. My fear with this is that because this is another vigilante group, is that this is going to go nowhere. Granted, he's now outed as a disgusting human being, and he'll wear that scarlet letter for the rest of his life, deservedly so. But I wish the law would have gotten to him too. So, okay. I was talking to Tipster about this whole thing, and we kind of share the same sentiment. We despise these people too. They're disgusting. I as a dad of 3 kids, 3 young kids, I want to see these people thrown under the jail. Don't misconstrue my words with what I'm about to say. But there's a couple things that happen here. Now, yes, there's the flip side where there's people that could have just never been on law enforcement's radar and they get away with this and no one ever catches them. Okay. But when these vigilante groups, when they do their song and dance, which it is, okay, the way they act, even People versus Predators, the way they act screaming out in the middle of the street, it does not help their case. What it seems like to me, and Tipster and many other people in the community with most of these vigilante groups, I think an exception I would say is CC Unit from his, I've watched quite a bit of their stuff and I feel like they have noble purposes mostly, even though I feel like they stretch on their videos a little longer too. But to these groups, it doesn't seem like you're genuine. It seems like, hey, we know that these people are looked at as the lowest of the low, so we could dogpile on them, which makes for great drama, which makes for great viewership, and we'll call them all different kinds of names. And that's what it's really about. We know it's a spectacle. You only care about the spectacle. You don't care about justice, because if you were just worried, here's what you should do to all these vigilante groups out there. If you weren't full of crap, as you were ringing the doorbell, the person who's there with you, because I would hope to God you would have someone there with you, should be or whoever, if you have a couple people, as you're ringing the doorbell of the person or meeting the person, as you're filming going up to them, you'll get enough footage, don't worry. You should be on the phone with law enforcement and they should be pulling up as you're talking to them. You don't do that though, and you sit there. You want me to call the cops? You want me to call the cops? I won't call. You want me to call them? All right, then you have to stay here and talk to me then. You're doing it because you're trying to get more content because you want more jaws to drop to the ground. No, that was not a purposeful side swipe at the Amico, but you get my point. That's what you're doing it for. I do not see any genuine concern for the kids that you're trying to save, and they should be saved, and these monsters should be taken off the street. But the problem is, okay, some of these people, law enforcement would have never gotten to them. Maybe EDP 445 would have never gotten caught, and he would have still been on YouTube, and then he could have harmed other kids. But who knows? He's still out on the street. He may be doing something different than YouTube. Maybe he's trying to hook up with someone else. And maybe if law enforcement got to him, he would be behind bars and he wouldn't be able to have that opportunity. Yes, he's outed now as a disgusting human being and he's a laughing stock and he's going to have to live with it for the rest of his life, deservedly so. But he's still out on the street and he could still harm somebody. So see that, and that's the thing too. Here's what's going to happen as well. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but this really annoys me. One of these people are going to get hurt that do these vigilante groups, aka they want to make a spectacle to get a bunch of viewership, and they're going to get hurt, or someone's going to get hurt, whether it be the predator or whether it be the person who's the vigilante, and it's going to cause, which I first and foremost don't want to see, by the way. And then beyond all that, it's going to cause an uproar at YouTube. Advertisers are going to flip out and the website's going to be turned upside down again. And we're going to have Adpocalypse Part 30. Can you tell me I'm wrong about any of this? And again, it's not, I'm not defending these monsters. I want to see them off the street. But in a lot of cases, these guys don't get them off the street. And a lot of times the cases have to be thrown out because of how they're handled. And this fool screaming in the middle of the street as he caught this monster, who is a monster, there's a good chance he may get off now. We'll have to see what happens. I hope he doesn't. I hope People versus Predators did their job and this guy is off the street. I'm glad to see he was fired from Sony. But a lot of times these vigilante groups don't actually get people behind bars. And I honestly don't think they care. They just care about the clout they get. They're clout chasers, and it's gross. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.
Interesting. I see he has a point, but the main thing is that a lot of the times they can't really go to jail because technically they really weren't talking to a 15-year-old, but they can get charges for trying to or agreeing to, because they would have to prove that he's done something like that before, right?
So what's the difference between this and To Catch a Predator that was on with Chris Hansen? Because those people were actually charged. even
Yeah,
though they
did you see
didn't do
the
anything.
other article said that the guy got charged, but I don't think that they actually go to jail. There's no history. Say for example, if he was a repeat sex offender, I think yeah, he would go to jail. But if this is their first instance, and basically the fact that they really were not taught, you get it. They really were not talking to a 15-year-old. You get it?
Yeah.
Even though the person, they could get charges for basically aspiring to, if that's even the proper terminology, for
Yeah.
aspiring to or agreeing to
Have the
meet up.
intention. The
Hmm?
intention. The intention.
Yeah, right. For intending to do something like that. But the fact still remains that it never happened. So there's no real charge to say that he actually did it. And then secondly, the people are lying about their age as well. You get it?
Yes.
So now it's like they can basically be looked at in the light as if, oh, what if this really was a 15-year-old? But the reality, it really wasn't. So I get what the guy is trying to argue. It's like you sitting there, you catching these people, but then at the end of the day, they still gonna go back and live a regular life. I mean, he probably gonna have a hard time getting a job because his face is everywhere, but he'll still be able to get a job somewhere. Burger King, McDonald's.
That's why he was like, it's really worth it just to expose these people, even though they should be exposed, but is it worth your life? Because you don't know who you're running up on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not know who they are running up on. Ooh,
But it's crazy because, it really could have been. I think that's the only thing that makes them get charges. But then again, you could fight it because technically he could say, oh, yeah, he felt like he was being tricked. He could say a whole bunch of different things in court. And remember, when you get lawyers, the lawyer's job is to basically prove that the innocent person, that the guilty person, no matter how guilty they really are, is innocent. And it's
reasonable
proven
doubt.
all the time. Whatever laws they use, they get people out of it all the time.
Reasonable doubt.
Yep. But listen, I was just wondering if they was gonna boycott PlayStation, like how cancel. That's the right word. Cancel PlayStation, like how they cancel every damn thing else. But the thing about it is that
PlayStation didn't know that they had hired a predator.
sure.
A lot of these predators, because they haven't been caught yet, because they have clean records.
Yeah, that too.
They don't have any patterns.
Yep. That's
So
what I'm saying.
even
Even if they do go to court for something like that, they're gonna get a slap on the freaking wrist, and then that's gonna be that. Now, if they get back in here for something else, then the charges might be more excessive. But if he has nothing else in his past that even looks comparable to what he's being accused of, he's probably gonna not get those charges.
Exactly. So, damn.
But yeah. Oh yeah, and then another reason. No, Sony was smart because they fired that man quick. They was like,
They don't want that bad press.
Right, exactly. Like they ain't about to cancel us. So they
Because
was like, you know what?
they own PlayStation, and a PlayStation is obviously geared towards children, and that's how he was able to lure said 15-year-old, or he thought was a 15-year-old, to his house. So if that's the case, how many other 15-year-olds has he lured to his house saying, oh, I work for PlayStation, I could get you this new game?
But it would be sad if, for whatever reason, say if that was well, not really sad, but what if it's his first time ever doing something like that, though? I think that they really look into all of that because I'm sure they could subpoena his computers, and try to see if they find any type of, child pornography and stuff like that. I think they take all of that into consideration before trying to just throw somebody behind bars and then put them in the system as a registered sex offender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, if they start going through his computers and it comes out that he had child pornography and he had this and that, then yes, it
Now,
is not
because
gonna look good.
that there should be some type of a warrant issue just to make sure.
Yep.
Search warrant there just to make sure. Now, because it was sent to the DA, that's the first thing I would have done, because if they can't charge him, depending on which state that he's in, they can't charge him for something that he almost did.
Right.
Even though he
And
had
he never actually did. Like,
Yes.
that's what I be saying. It's crazy because he had the conversations, but technically, for one, it wasn't even a freaking 15-year-old for real, for real. Two, he never actually met up with a 15-year-old, even though he agreed to and intended on it. You know, it never really happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agreed to and intended on it. You know, it never really happened. Is that you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
I hit the live on Facebook, but yeah. What was the last story?
The last story is the most depressing one of it all, the one that we gonna have to sleep on. But Nick Cannon's baby, the 5-month-old that passed away.
Let me see where he actually talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, Nick Cannon has a 5-month-old that recently passed away. It's crazy because I didn't even know that the baby. I mean, you probably would not have known because you know a lot of people don't talk about stuff like that.
I was just about to get into that. I don't want fans to say shit like, "Oh, well, how come you didn't tell us that he was sick?" It's not our fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our business. It was weird because the day before yesterday, the big story about Nick Cannon was his dick print.
Right.
And the episode that was aired, I hope it was pre-recorded, because if your son died over the weekend and then you come in Monday and you know you have a huge dick print and everybody's talking about it, but then the next day you come in saying that your son passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what else? Honestly, what I think, because you have to, like, I read up on it a little bit, and what they are saying is that unfortunately, from when the baby was 2 months, they realized that the baby was having all of these issues. So I'm guessing, like, a lot of the times people prepare themselves for it. But the other thing is, what he mentioned was that he actually been doing counseling and therapy. So I can't, like, honestly, I can't say that if my child passed away that I would be able to just show up and be able to be on TV still. But he dealt with it on a level because this was something that was going on from when the baby was 2 months. And they probably have been warned in advance, like, listen, this baby may not make it, you know? So they probably knew this was expected, but hoping for the best.
Yeah.
I did read up on it, though. Did you find something you want to play?
Yeah, the actual.
Today is a special one, y'all. It's like for many reasons, but it's not gonna be an easy one. Because I got so much to talk about. I actually haven't even shared this with anybody, really. I mean, not even, the crew. I came in, today is kind of quiet. And just because there's, so much going on in the world, and I had a tough, very tough weekend. But it's like, before I even get into why, I always, we go to the pick of the day. And I got to show, this is the pick of the day of my youngest son, Zen Scott Cannon, right there. So, probably before the show started in the summertime, Zen was born in June, on June 23rd, actually. And, it was a great day. Obviously, y'all know I got a lot of kids. And Zen's my youngest. And it was so exciting. And I got, I did the introducing Zen photo. And, so during the summer it was really exciting. But I always noticed, like, yeah, as he got 1 month was great. by the time he got 2 months, he was just like the most loving. We called him Z chilling. He was just always smiling, always having just the most beautiful spirit. But I always noticed he had like a little, like to me, it felt like a sinus thing. It was like a cough. And I just wanted to check it out. You know, sometimes early on, I thought, because, you know, babies get fluid in their lungs and stuff. So we thought, you know, he'll cough it out, and that's what they would say. But he always had this real.
It says you have to unmute yourself. It says they chose to mute themselves.
Interesting breathing. And then like by the time he was 2 months old, I noticed like he's just the cutest little boy. Has these like big eyes. I also noticed like he had like a nice sized head. He had like I call it a cannon head. Like all my kids got really nice round heads. You know, like rock, roll, golden. Everybody had, like, even me, I had like a real like Cabbage Patch Kid type of head. So we didn't think anything about.
Okay, I'm back. Basically, my phone was acting retarded. Like, you know how I muted myself on purpose, but I was trying to zoom in to see the mute button, and it wouldn't zoom in.
You wanted
But I'm
to
back.
you wanted to say something?
No, I just needed to be unmuted for when I was ready to say something.
Okay.
He had a normal, he had a normal cannon head. But I really wanted to, you know, take him to the doctor to get the breathing and the sinus things checked out. So we thought it would be, you know, a routine process. And we went in just to check his sinuses, and they actually said his sinuses were pretty cool. But then by the time we found out that he had another condition, and I think it was called, if I'm not mistaken, but it was like where it was fluid that was building up in his head, and that was the cause of his head was starting to get big. And when we found out it was more of they called it like a malignant tumor in his head. And so immediately we had to have surgery, it was brain surgery. We put a shunt in his head, and we were hoping for the best. And, you know, the shunt would go down, it's like a tube that would go inside and drain all of the fluid out, so his head would be normal, and you know, he would be able to function. But then the doctors were concerned, and when I say, I have to thank all of the doctors at the Children's Hospital of Orange County, Chalk out there. They were beautiful nurses, the people, Trinity, the hospice care, all of those people. They've been and they were really educating and kind of
Pause that.
was going on. So we were faithful and hopeful.
You see how he said hospice care? Basically, they went through, you know, hospice is normally when you're about to pass away.
Yeah, that's the last step.
Yeah, so he did hospice and all of that. So I guess that's why he wasn't as emotional, like, you know, like, you know, what's crazy, because, you know, something could happen. And with me, like, if I, like, it could happen, if I'm not thinking about it, I'm not talking about it, I could just live my life. But then if I have to sit there and actually have to say it, like, oh yeah, you know, like when, like, if, you know, for example, my uncle passed, I was like, you know, if I, like, it happened and I could just be sitting here cool. But then when I have to tell somebody, like, oh yeah, oh, when my grandmother passed, it's like once you start to say those words, that's when it hits you, you know? And when you have to actually think about it. Because I know you was like, oh, how come he was there with the, you know, ding-a-ling print? Because he just, you know, out of sight, out of mind. But when you actually have to sit down and talk about it, it's like that's when it really, really hits you. Go ahead, you could play it.
Yeah, but that's why I thought that it was pre-recorded also.
Yeah, that could have been it too. That could have been it as well.
Yeah, let me go back and
for that time, and then it, it was carried on. He was still just playing with all his brothers and sisters. If I get an opportunity, I embraced every moment because something like that. That was even them like with all the other kids, and like I just got an opportunity to try to spend as much time. And I really want to say I'm so grateful to my entire family for coming together during this time and being so loving and not judgmental of me or any of those things. And I really have to say, Zen's mom, Alyssa was just like the strongest woman I've ever seen, because she never had an argument, never was angry, was emotional when she needed to be, but was always the best mom and continues to be the best mom possible. So I got to say thank you to my entire family, but specifically to Alyssa. And Thanksgiving, because up until then, he was just like all my other kids, just loving and fun. But Thanksgiving, we had a interesting turn, and the process sped up, and ultimately, if anybody knows how cancers work, it was cancer in the brain. And the tumor began to grow a lot faster. And so we knew that the time was this weekend, I made a valid effort to spend the most quality time I could spend with Zen. And we woke up on Sunday. Got to spend the weekend with them, spend the night, and we woke up on Sunday, and I was like, I just feel like I want to go to the water. And close to the ocean, and we kind of got a chance to go to the ocean. And usually on Sundays, kind of handle everything I had to handle with the family, and then I fly back to New York. I rush back so I could be here for you all. And so, but I wanted to make sure that, I had allowed the sun to rise and, kind of hold my son. And in the having the last holding my son for the last time. But it was a beautiful setting and even spend that whole day. It was interesting because even as I was holding I was still preparing my day as it normally went to come back and, come here and still, I didn't know what it was going to be, but even by the time I got in the car and was headed to the airport, I had to turn around. And I turned around and not only did we get to see the sunrise, but we got to see the sunset too. And I didn't know how I was going to handle today. I didn't know how, but I just really wanted, I wanted to grieve with my family. You know what I mean? There's no people who love you. And I didn't want to make it about any pageantry or any of that type of stuff, so I kind of went back and forth with what I should do, but I felt like, I was always talking about, you don't just go through it, you grow through it, you keep pushing, you know what I mean? And I have so much faith in the Lord, I have so much faith in God, and I never, people were often telling me I should pray for miracles, and I did pray for the miracle. I prayed for the miracle of God's strength, and that's why I'm here with you guys today, because I know, he puts the most and heaviest weight on the shoulders of his strongest soldiers. So I'm here to show that I can fight through this. I'm feeling it. I'm vulnerable. I'm open, y'all, but I'm gonna make it through. And This is a special show dedicated to my beautiful son, dude.
I don't even have any kids, and I can't imagine losing somebody that I gave birth to.
Right. And like I said, like I said, like you gotta know how it is to like, it's crazy because even when I was little and somebody would ask me like, "Why are you crying?" And mind you, that would make me cry more. Or I'll be sad and they'd be like, "Why are you so sad?" Or that would make me start crying. So it's like when you actually have to sit down and actually talk about it. I'm that type of person where it like. If I'll be over there looking like Kyle Rittenhouse. Yo, I'm like thinking about the Kyle Rittenhouse face, like, bro, that shit is hilarious. I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, but I don't know. I
Ugly
can't
cry
say.
face. Yeah.
I can't. I can't even sit here and say like, okay, his shit was real and his shit was fake. But I'm like, yo, if it was real,
But
I know.
I hear people ask, why children and why babies? That's not our choice. Like, we aren't the ones who bring these souls into the world and take souls out. That's not our job. Our job is to be the best parents while these children are here, while we're allowed time with our loved ones, especially these kids. Um, he was here for the amount of time that God allowed, and God called him home. I know people who are grieving are not going to want to hear that. Hopefully, that brings some type of comfort. But that's just how I see it. You never want to question God, because remember when Kobe died, I questioned God, like, why him and his child and whole families on the plane, and just why does this even have to happen? But we don't know why. Everything has a reason, even if the reason is, I don't want to say God felt like it, but God put everybody here for a reason and a season. He puts people in your life for a reason and a season, whether they pass away, whether they just disconnect, whether they move on or you move on, or you just feel like you don't want to, be in each other's lives anymore. You just have
Girl,
to,
every
hey,
time I think about stuff like this, I think about the Bible. You have
hey,
somebody with like Jesus Christ, he was murdered, and all he wanted to do was be kind and loving and caring and do everything right. And people hated him for that so much to the point where they actually killed him. And it wasn't just one person that thought it was okay, it was a whole gang of people that was like, let's get rid of this perfect motherfucker, you know? So it's like when you think about stuff like that, like you could be the most perfect human being and it's still going to be like death that will come to you no matter what, whether it's a violent death, whether you can get sick, and die. There's a lot, like death is just one of the things that's guaranteed in this life. Unfortunately, and you just never know when it's going to happen. Like you never really know when you're gonna be born, as much as they can give you a due date, because nobody ever really comes on their due date, and you never really know when you're gonna die. But you know it's gonna happen. And some people die before they even live. Like that's the craziest part. So you know how much babies die before they even come into this world, like they never even get the chance to take their first breath. Like this lady posted the other day how she had to push her baby out, a dead baby, mind you, because they went to the doctor, and they couldn't find a heartbeat. And then they realized, okay, the baby stopped growing a couple of weeks ago. And then they put her in labor. And they make you push out a dead baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, me being, I don't consider myself Christian, more so a spiritual, and from the dirt we come, to the dirt we go. I don't feel like I would want to have that experience inside of a hospital. of course, I need to, the everything medical needs to be checked, but I don't know. I would just feel like I would just handle that differently. I know, like the doctors will say, I need you to stay in a hospital and we need to check this, and that. But giving birth to a dead baby and then, having to go to the morgue and everything else, I would just want to handle that on my own. I know some doctors, they give you a chance to hold them before they take them away. But as far as the burial, I just would want to handle that with my family and on my own. Like we always say this on this podcast, the spirit takes over the body. Just because the spirit is gone, but the body is still here, and I would just want to do things my own way as far as burying somebody that was only here for a moment. I probably wouldn't want a whole like huge fanfare, just like Nick said. Don't want a whole fanfare or anything because not a whole lot of people knew the baby probably.
Right.
That's something that people will want to handle privately, and they'll probably have the funeral and we won't know about it until he feels comfortable saying we buried so and so and we're in our grieving process and we're getting therapy and counseling, and that's it. So
Yeah.
rest
And
in
then social media is the worst because they like to turn things into jokes for whatever reason. They joke
blood
about any and every
sacrifice.
fucking thing,
I
and
saw
they
that
think that
shit
shit is cute.
already. I saw that shit already. Oh my God, it was a blood sacrifice. Man, get the fuck out of here. Don't do that. Don't fucking do that. Don't do that.
Yep.
I know like everybody's in the entertainment industry, but it does not have to be a blood sacrifice or some sinister shit that everybody wants to make it out to be. So rest in peace, Zen S. Cannon. He was 5 months old. I think he said was born on June 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, we covered everything. We got all the topics in for the night. And that was all, folks.
All right, and we will see. Ooh, let me get his fucking face off the damn girl. Ooh. But yeah. So we will see y'all next Wednesday for sure.
Okay.
We love y'all. We hope y'all are gonna be safe, whoever's listening. And we will see y'all next week. So be blessed, stay black, and fuck the police.
Good night, guys.
Good night. We'll see y'all.